They replaced me on the dream trip I planned and paid for, so I canceled everything and left them stranded in Europe. It took 2 years of overtime, exhaustion, and skipping nearly every social event I could have joined, but I finally did it. I booked a dream trip to Europe for my parents and me. A full week, just the three of us, no distractions, no interruptions, no obligations. I didn't tell them anything. They still think I'm just some busy programmer who can't manage her time. But the truth is, I've been planning every single detail. Every ticket, every hotel, every museum entrance and fancy dinner. All as a surprise. A gift. The kind that says thank you for the years of unconditional love they gave me even when I didn't deserve it. I remember sitting on my bedroom floor with a spreadsheet open and my credit card in my lap, sweating as I hit book on the flights. Paris first, then Rome, and we'd finish with a few days in Vienna. It's the trip my mom used to dream about when she thought no one was listening, tracing castles with her finger on the glossy pages of travel magazines. It's the one my dad used to laugh about, saying maybe one day. Every time we walked past a travel agency window. They never had the money, never had the time. So I decided to make it happen, even if it meant sleeping 4 hours a night and living off coffee and instant ramen. The part that kills me, in the best way, is that they still don't know. I've been keeping it secret for months. They think I'm just inviting them over for a regular Sunday dinner this weekend. What they'll find instead is an envelope on their plates with 2 first-class boarding passes, a handwritten itinerary, and hotel confirmations in 5-star resorts. I even got us reservations at that rooftop restaurant in Paris that overlooks the Eiffel Tower. I booked a gondola ride in Venice just because Mom once saw it in a movie inside. Every moment of this trip is stitched together with memories they don't even know I remembered. And no, it's not about being the perfect daughter or proving something. It's about that time in 10th grade when I came home sobbing and they didn't ask why. They just held me and let me be quiet. It's about every late-night phone call when I had panic attacks in college, and Dad stayed up just to talk me down while Mom looked up therapists for me on the side. It's about them sacrificing their vacations so I could have braces, or that they never bought a new car because my tuition came first. It's about all the invisible things they did, the ones they thought I never noticed. I don't care if they cry when they find out. I don't care if they try to tell me it's too much or that they don't deserve it. They do. They always have. The only thing I want is to sit between them on a plane headed somewhere beautiful and know that, for once, they get to be the ones taken care of. I want them to see how far their love carried me, all the way to Europe and back. I pulled into the airport's short-term parking lot with my heart racing so hard I could feel it in my throat. That jittery kind of excitement where your hands shake even though you're not cold. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, a simple "we've landed" from Dad, and I smiled like a lunatic. This was it. After all the months of planning, hiding confirmation emails under fake folder names, faking stress at work just to dodge questions, it was finally happening. I was going to walk them into the international terminal and reveal everything. I even had the little envelope with the itinerary in my bag, personalized with our names printed on crisp parchment, the tickets tucked inside, a wax seal I'd bought on Etsy because I wanted it to feel like opening a gift. I parked, grabbed my bag, and jogged through the terminal toward the arrivals gate, brushing past tourists and cab drivers holding signs. When I spotted them through the crowd, something didn't click at first. My mom waving, my dad beside her, both smiling like they hadn't just walked off a red-eye, and then her, Lauren, my sister, standing between them in leggings and one of those airport blanket hoodies, earbuds in, dragging a rose-gold suitcase that definitely wasn't hers. For a second, I thought maybe she was here to say goodbye too. Maybe they'd asked her to come for the surprise. But then Mom reached out and hugged me with one arm, the other still holding Lauren's tote, and said the words that cracked something clean in my chest. "Oh, honey," she said, as if delivering mildly disappointing news about dinner plans. "Lauren is very tired. She needs a rest, so we decided to take her instead of you." I blinked, not understanding, not really hearing. My hands stayed frozen in the air where they'd been ready for hugs, my tote slipping slightly down my shoulder. I looked at my dad, but he just gave that familiar sheepish smile he always used when he didn't agree with something but didn't want to get involved. Lauren didn't even take out her earbuds. She just looked at me like this was all normal, like this trip, my trip, was hers now and always had been. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My brain was buffering. Mom continued, completely casual, like she was talking about grocery substitutions. "She's just been so stressed lately with the job market and all, and your itinerary looked so lovely. We thought it might be exactly what she needs." Exactly what she needs. I planned that gondola ride because Mom said once she wanted to feel like she was in a dream. I booked the hotel in Rome because Dad always talked about wanting to see the Colosseum before his knees gave out. Every part of that trip was wrapped in their memories. Mine too. and they were giving it to her like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. I didn't cry. Not then. I just nodded, a little too slowly, like my body was moving through water. I smiled. It probably looked all wrong. And I said, of course. I understand. And I did. Not in the way they wanted me to. But I understood everything. Every dynamic, every choice, every time Lauren's problems were treated like emergencies and mine like inconveniences. I watched them roll their suitcases away towards security, Mom holding Lauren's boarding pass like it was a favor, not theft. I stood there for a long time after they were gone, longer than made sense. The envelope was still in my bag, the wax seal intact, the names printed in calligraphy. I reached in, took it out, looked at the "to my favorite people" I'd written across the top in silver ink, and smiled. Not because I was okay. Not because I'd forgiven them. I smiled because in that exact moment, something hard and bright clicked into place inside me. Not anger. Not revenge. Something colder. Sharper. They'd taken my trip, but they had no idea what they'd just given me in return. They came out of the terminal like nothing had happened, like I hadn't just been erased from my own plan, my own gift, my own story. Lauren walked ahead, wheeling her suitcase with one hand and sipping iced coffee with the other, sunglasses already on like she was shielding herself from paparazzi instead of fluorescent airport lights. My mom followed close behind, talking too loud as usual, something about connecting flights and hand lotion exploding in her purse. My dad trailed behind, his mouth set in that default half-smile like he was just a visitor in his own life. None of them looked remotely guilty. If anything, they looked pleased. When they spotted me at the curb, they didn't falter. Lauren opened the car door and slid into the back like she did this every day, tossing her bag carelessly across the seat where I'd imagined my parents sitting, holding hands, beaming at the adventure ahead. My mom climbed into the front, adjusting the seat to make more legroom, chattering the whole time like this was a weekly routine. And my dad, he hesitated for maybe half a second, eyes flicking to mine like he wanted to say something, then dropped his gaze and quietly got in, folding his tall frame into the back seat beside Lauren without a word. Thanks for the ride, Violet, Lauren said with that smug little smile that's driven me insane since we were kids. And, seriously, thank you again for the trip. So generous of you. Really. She didn't even try to sound sincere. She said it like a joke, like it was a punchline we were all supposed to laugh at. Mom glanced at me, already pulling down the visor to check her lipstick in the mirror. Oh, it's going to be just perfect, she said, blotting her lips with a napkin she found in the console. I was thinking we'll go straight to Galeries Lafayette when we land. They have this divine little perfume counter. You remember, Violet? From that article I showed you? I've been dreaming about it. And Lauren definitely deserves a little indulgence right now. She's been under so much pressure. I didn't answer. I just shifted into drive and merged into traffic, gripping the steering wheel like it might slip out of my hands if I didn't hold tight enough. My fingers were starting to go numb, but I didn't loosen my grip. Behind me, Lauren was humming some song under her breath, tapping her nails against the window. Mom kept talking, something about shoes, about whether the hotel's breakfast would have actual croissants or just those sad American versions. Dad said nothing. He just stared out the window like the silence would make him disappear. The car was filled with their voices, their comfort, their casual betrayal hanging in the air like it was just weather. They'd taken something I built with blood and time, with money I didn't really have and hours I never got back, and turned it into some inside joke, a vacation prize they claimed because they were used to claiming things. I felt like I was driving a getaway car they didn't even know they'd robbed. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't say a single word. But inside, I wasn't calm. Inside, something hot and sharp was coiling tighter with every mile. They really thought I'd just take this, that I'd just sit there and drive them like some chauffeur for their audacity, that I'd swallow it whole like I always did. They didn't know me at all. Not really. Not anymore. I didn't speak the whole ride back. I dropped them off at the international terminal with a smile that didn't reach my eyes, helped load their bags into the cart, and stood perfectly still as Lauren leaned in to give me a kiss on the cheek, her perfume cloying and sugary like it was trying too hard. My mom patted my hand like I was their assistant. We'll send pictures, she said, like that was some kind of consolation prize. My dad gave a small wave, eyes not quite meeting mine, and then they were swallowed by the sliding glass doors and the overhead announcements and the laughter of families heading off to trips that actually made sense. I walked back to the car like I was on autopilot, but my mind was moving faster than it had in months. I got home, dropped my keys on the counter, sat down at my desk, and opened the laptop like I was clocking in for another shift, except this time I wasn't working to give anything. I was about to start taking it all back. I opened the booking dashboard first, the one I'd used to map every hour of the trip, color-coded and bookmarked. The hotels were under my name, paid with my card. The upgrades, the airport transfers, The spa package I'd surprised Mom with for the second day in Paris. Cancel. 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 Refund requests flashed across the screen like a rhythm, like breathing. I closed tabs with the same kind of precision I'd used when I first booked them, but now my heart wasn't full of hope. It was clean, cold, focused. Next was the tour operator, the full-day private excursions I'd arranged, the wine tasting in the Tuscan countryside, the early access for side tickets, the skip-the-line Vatican passes. All of it, gone with 3 clicks. I stared at the confirmation emails for a second before dragging them into the trash. No one else was going to benefit from my effort, my thoughtfulness, my savings account. And the final piece, the mobile itinerary app I'd shared with them months ago under a different name, thinking it was harmless to let them see the sample schedule. I updated it with new times. Blank entries. Generic placeholders. Nothing useful. They'd be landing in Paris with no idea where to go, no rooms waiting, no guided walks or dinner reservations, no plan. For once, someone else could deal with the confusion. For once, I wasn't going to be the safety net. Let Lauren navigate the language barrier. Let Mom argue with the front desk. Let Dad shrug and try to fix things with Google Translate and a tired smile. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the dark screen, the reflection of my own face faint in the glass. This was the first time in years, maybe ever, that I didn't feel like the responsible one, the fixer, the one who made everything smooth and beautiful so other people could glide through without noticing the work underneath. They'd stolen my trip, but I wasn't going to sponsor their theft. I wasn't going to fund a vacation they thought I'd quietly let them have. They had chosen to replace me. Now they could see what it really meant when I was gone. It started just after 1 a.m., exactly 9 hours after I'd hit cancel on the final reservation. I was curled up on the couch with a blanket and a bowl of instant ramen, my phone charging quietly on the windowsill, when the first ping came through. Lauren. The name flashed across the screen with the kind of urgency that used to make my stomach knot. Not anymore. Her message was a screenshot of a hotel lobby, all marble floors and gold accents, followed by a string of texts. Why won't they check us in? Your name isn't on the reservation anymore? WTF, Violet. They're saying we have to book another room ourselves. I didn't reply. I just turned the screen over, picked up my bowl, and took another bite. 10 minutes later, my mom. Violet, something's wrong. We're at the desk, and they can't find the reservation. Please confirm the booking number. Then, are you awake? Can you check your email? Lauren is tired. We've been flying for hours. Please help us. By 1:40 a.m., the tone shifted. Lauren again. More frantic this time. The Louvre thing isn't showing up in the app anymore. The tour is gone. Did you change the password or something? Why is everything canceled? Then Mom again. Violet, this is very confusing. The itinerary isn't updating. The guide never showed up. What is going on? I scrolled through the messages slowly, my fingers gliding like I was reading a book I already knew the ending to. One I'd written myself. A few minutes later, the call started. First Lauren. I watched the screen light up, her name pulsing like some sort of weak siren. Decline. Then Mom. Twice. Then Dad, a rare thing. Just Dad mobile. I let it ring. Watched it ring. Let the sound echo for a few seconds longer before I silenced it completely and tucked the phone under a pillow. I wasn't angry anymore. That had passed. What I felt now was cleaner. Calmer. Like I'd finally put something down that I'd been carrying for way too long. They were finally experiencing a version of life I had lived for years. The stress, the scrambling, the invisible labor of making things run smoothly while everyone else coasted. Only this time, there was no Violet to fix it. No Violet to smooth the edges. No Violet to wake up at 3 a.m. and find the right confirmation number or call customer service or rearrange a last-minute booking because someone forgot to bring their passport. I pulled the blanket tighter around my shoulders, leaned my head back against the couch, and closed my eyes. Let them figure it out. Let them feel what it's like when the person they depended on decides to be done. By the next morning, the tone had changed completely. The polite confusion was gone, the passive requests replaced by something sharper, desperate, bitter, mean. I woke to 14 missed calls and a voicemail from my mother, her voice laced with that particular blend of rage and theatrical disappointment she always saved for moments when things didn't go her way. Violet, this is unbelievable. You're being childish. Do you understand how expensive it is to rebook these things? Your sister is exhausted. I'm exhausted. And now we're stranded in a foreign country with no guidance, no hotel, no help. This is selfish. Completely selfish. Another ping. A text from Lauren this time, all caps. Are you serious right now? This is so trivial. Just fix everything. Rebook it, re-whatever it. It takes like 2 clicks. Jesus, Violet. Then another call. I let it go to voicemail again. My father this time. Hey, sweetie. Listen, we're just trying to salvage the trip, okay? Your mom's a little stressed. Lauren's having a tough time adjusting, but I know you didn't mean for all of this to blow up. If you could just help us get things back on track, maybe send the original hotel info, we'd really appreciate it. We can talk when we're back. No need for all this drama. Drama. That's what it always was to them. Any boundary I set, any reaction I had, any moment where I didn't quietly absorb the impact of their choices. Drama. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, staring at the screen, watching their names light up like a game I didn't want to play anymore. And then, for the first time in 2 days, I answered. The call connected and Lauren's voice exploded immediately. Finally. God, what the hell is wrong with you? You can't just leave people hanging like this. You planned the damn trip, Violet, so fix it. It's literally your fault we're stuck. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even feel my heart rate spike. I was too far past that point. It was my trip, I said, clearly, every word sharp and measured. I planned it. I paid for it. I spent 2 years building it. And you made your choice. The silence that followed was deafening. I didn't wait for a reply. I ended the call. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I was already on the porch when they pulled into the driveway, the tires crunching against gravel louder than they needed to be, the kind of noise people make when they want to announce their arrival with force. The car door slammed first, Lauren's, and she was already groaning before she reached the steps, dragging her suitcase behind her like it had betrayed her personally. This whole thing was a disaster, she snapped, tossing her sunglasses into her bag with more flair than necessary. We stayed in a motel that smelled like cigarettes and sadness. And don't even get me started on the food. Dry sandwiches. No real coffee. Paris was supposed to be beautiful. I said nothing. I just watched her, sitting there in the patio chair, coffee in hand, legs crossed, as calm as if I were reading the Sunday paper. Then came Mom, pulling herself up the steps with that tight-lipped expression she wore like perfume, passive aggression cloaked in pretend politeness. Violet, she said, her voice already primed for confrontation. We need to talk. What you did was cruel. You abandoned your family in another country. We trusted you. I can't believe our own daughter would let us down like this. Dad was behind them both, silent as usual, his hands shoved in his jacket pockets, his eyes not meeting mine. I stood slowly, not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because I'd waited 2 years for them to see me clearly, and now they were finally looking, even if they still didn't understand. No, I said, my voice low but steady. You didn't trust me. You used me. You took what I made and gave it to someone else without asking. You replaced me on my own trip. You humiliated me and expected me to smile and fund your vacation anyway. Lauren scoffed. Oh my God, are you still being dramatic about this? It's not like we stole your wallet. It was a trip. I turned to her then, fully. It was my gift. My time. My money. My work. And you all threw me out like I was the afterthought. So tell me, Lauren, why should you get to use my money after deciding I didn't belong? For a moment, no one said anything. Just the wind rustling the bushes and the sound of a car down the street, too far away to be part of this moment. My mother's jaw tensed. We didn't mean to exclude you. We just thought. No, I said again, cutting her off. You didn't think. Or maybe you did, and you thought I'd just take it like I always do. But not this time. I sat back down, took another sip of coffee, let them stand there with their wrinkled clothes and airport hair and indignation thick enough to chew. For once, they were the ones left standing in the doorway. And I didn't owe them a single step forward. I didn't plan to say it all. I thought I'd just let them stew in the discomfort, let the silence make its point better than I ever could. But then my mother crossed her arms like she was preparing to lecture me, and something inside me finally snapped loose. Not like a break, but like a release. A weight I didn't even know I was still carrying suddenly lifted, and I opened my mouth without even realizing I'd made the decision. You've always done this, I said, slowly, deliberately, my voice low but vibrating with years I'd kept boxed up. Every single time, you've made it clear who matters more. Every time I got straight A's, it was barely a pat on the back, but when Lauren passed her driver's test on the 3rd try, you bought a cake. I got into a competitive programming internship, and you forgot to show up to the ceremony, because Lauren had a dentist appointment. Do you even remember that? Because I do. I remember every single time you acted like my accomplishments were just background noise. My mother opened her mouth, but I didn't stop. Not this time. And it wasn't just about school. It was always Lauren's drama, Lauren's stress, Lauren's sensitive personality. Every holiday, every vacation, every argument. It was about keeping her calm, keeping her happy. I gave up weekends to help you organize her birthday parties. I loaned her money she never paid back. I covered for her when she failed her classes. And you let me. You expected it. You treated it like it was my job. Lauren made a sound like she was going to say something snide, but even she didn't speak. I think she realized, for once, I wasn't going to stop for anyone. I kept quiet. I kept the peace. I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. And maybe it wasn't then. But now? Now I see exactly how deep it goes. You didn't just take the trip. You replaced me. You looked at something I built and decided I didn't deserve to be in it. And when it fell apart, you still expected me to fix it. Like always. Mom stepped forward slightly. Violet, this is being blown way out of proportion. No, I said, cutting her off with a calmness that felt foreign and strong. No, you don't get to decide the proportions anymore. You don't get to tell me how big or small my feelings are. You don't get to rewrite what happened. Not this time. My voice didn't shake. I didn't cry. I didn't flinch. I'm not going to be the one who puts up with everything anymore. I'm not going to set myself on fire just to keep you all warm. And with that, I turned away and walked back inside, leaving them on the porch with their jet lag and their sour expressions and the echo of a truth I should have spoken years ago. The next morning, I turned off my phone. Not silent. Not do not disturb. Off. Powered down. No blinking notifications, no buzzing texts, no half-hearted apologies dressed up as guilt trips. Just nothing. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, the absence of noise felt like a gift. I made coffee without checking messages. I opened my laptop without wondering who needed something from me. I answered emails, not from family, but from colleagues, from collaborators, from people who respected my time instead of draining it. I dove into a new project I'd been putting off for months. Not because I didn't want to do it, but because I kept getting pulled into everyone else's orbit, forced to revolve around their chaos. Not anymore. The silence in my apartment wasn't empty. It was calm, full of space that used to be cluttered with obligation. I finally ordered that armchair I'd been eyeing for over a year, the one in burnt orange velvet that clashed beautifully with everything else I owned. I rearranged the bookshelves without worrying whether anyone else liked the layout. I moved through my space like it belonged to me, because it did. And I stopped shrinking myself to fit the contours of other people's comfort. I worked late into the evening, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Because my mind was clear, my time was mine, and I wasn't bracing for a text that would undo everything. I cooked dinner with music playing loud enough to fill the apartment, lit a candle just because I liked the smell, and ate at my kitchen table without multitasking, without compromise. I didn't miss the guilt. I didn't miss the feeling of walking on eggshells in my own skin. I didn't miss the silence after one of Lauren's tantrums or the phone calls that began with "could you just" and ended with me paying a price no one acknowledged. I didn't miss being the backup plan, the reliable one, the emotional sponge everyone squeezed dry. I was still me, still Violet, but now I was the version I'd buried under other people's needs. The one who didn't ask for permission to be done. The one who lived without apologizing for taking up space. And God, she felt good. I booked the trip on a Tuesday evening without telling anyone. No announcement. No fanfare, just a one-way click, my name on the ticket, and a departure date that made my chest feel lighter just by existing. Italy. Not because I was running from anything, not anymore, but because I wanted to go. For myself. For no one else. Florence welcomed me with that warm gold light that turns even alleyways into paintings. I walked slowly, deliberately, with no schedule to chase, no itinerary crammed with expectations. I sipped coffee at sidewalk cafes and didn't pretend to check emails to look busy. I let myself sit and watch people. Listen to their languages swirl around me. I wandered without checking a map, let the streets decide where I went. I spent whole afternoons in museums, not racing through for the sake of efficiency, but standing still in front of a single painting until I felt ready to move. I took photographs, not for social media, not for anyone waiting back home, but because I liked how the light hit a crumbling wall or how the shadows of a wrought iron balcony curled onto the stone like calligraphy. I filled a small notebook with thoughts, sketches, names of wines I wanted to remember. I didn't answer any calls. I didn't know anyone's explanations. And on the last night, I sat at a tiny table on a terrace overlooking the Arno, the air soft with the hum of passing Vespas and the clink of dishes from nearby kitchens. My pasta arrived with shaved truffle and steam rising like incense, and I took my time. One bite, one sip of red wine, one deep breath. And I realized, this wasn't the end of anything. This wasn't the reward for surviving. This was the beginning of a life where I stopped shrinking myself for others, where I stopped folding my wants in half so they could fit into someone else's comfort, where I didn't have to earn joy through exhaustion, where I could just be. So now I'm asking you, when was the last time you gave something to yourself without apology? When was the last time you made a choice just for the sake of freedom, not duty? Because sometimes the real trip doesn't start with a flight. It starts the moment you decide you don't have to be the version of yourself other people expect. And I hope, if you haven't yet, you get to take that journey too.